Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is the third session that we've got, and we're going to be covering some pretty interesting things today. I want to share my screen here with you just to give you a little bit of outline. Okay, if you remember, we've been talking about stories, and your story, which is this overarching story, and that your life and story is made up of individual small stories that are contained therein. And those are the kind of stories that we are really going to be concentrating on primarily today. And we also talk some about the system for storing the materials that you have, which I refer to as assets. And today we're going to get down into this area here pretty much where we've got the text and audio and video graphic material. So with that, we'll talk a little bit about creating a web page, which is one of the things that's covered in today's topics. Creating a web page basically covers three significant parts. The first one is to create a JPEG image. You need to have some reference to let people know where you're going. Now that could come from anywhere. Basically, what I like to do is create them as text images, and that can be done either in like a paint program, which comes with Microsoft. There's similar programs in Apple. Then the next, also that can be done with a presentation type software. And the one that I'm suggesting that we use here is LibreOffice. I keep forgetting that name, the word name. And those programs, I'm going to just briefly tell you what they are here. I had meant to put them down in an image, but ran out of time here this morning. But the LibreOffice is at HTTP. You might want to write these down. I hope you got a pencil ready. www.libreoffice.org. And when you go to that site, remember now, if you just Google LibreOffice, you're going to see a bunch of different places that you can download this. But you got to make sure that you get to the original spot, which is LibreOffice.org, because other companies, organizations, whatever, tie on to the download of some of these free programs. And you really got to watch it, because if you don't, if you're not sure that you're eliminating the things that you don't want, you could end up with a bunch of junk on your computer. So make sure that you're at LibreOffice.org. The other
How do you spell Libre?
Libre.
It's up in the upper left corner.
Right up here.
Oh, thank you.
And there's like 4 or 5 programs within that. This is what's called a productivity suite, and the one that I use here is the Impress, which would be the equivalent to PowerPoint in Microsoft. The other program that I would recommend that you download, we're going to demonstrate today, is http://4.software, number 4, and then letters DOTS, then hyphen software.com. And it's also a free program. Now, when I say they're free, that means you can go ahead and use them, and there's no problem with that. However, in both cases, you can support these organizations also who, put a lot of effort into making those programs available for you. So those are the 2 programs that we're going to really be concentrating on here today. There's a third one, which is the video editing program that we're going to be looking at. That one is free also just to look at. and you can practice on it, but when you really want to use it without putting a watermark on, you have to pay a subscription fee. But in my experience, it's been well worth it. You know, the $50 that I paid to free it up. So I'm going to get out of the share now.
Can you
Go ahead.
tell us that the one that was 4dots.com, how do you spell the first part? I mean,
Well,
is
it's,
this
you know, your
number or?
Yeah, it's your regular HTTP and then www.4, number 4, and then DOTS, the letters, hyphen, software.com. So while we're in this here now, I'm going to create a web page. Okay, we've got a new slide here. So this is going to be text with some indication where a linkage could occur. So the first thing we need then is a text box. And this would be a heading. And I'm going to make this a fairly large, whoops. I'm going to make this a fairly large number or letter. Let's say about a 40. And this is going to be like, in my case, let's say it would be education. Whoops. I want to make that in red. This red right here. And then I'm going to do a cap. And maybe I'm going to make that a little bold. So let's see, here be the bold. And underline. Okay, my education experience is covered from 1941. This goes back to a theme. If you remember, we talked about themes, and formal education ended in 1958. So this means that we're now into the main branch of the theme. And I'm going to put some explanation material in here. I'm again going to use a text box. And this is going to be smaller, so I'm going to go down to about a 26. And I'm just going to put in like, oops.
Did you say this is the paint program?
This is we're in LibreOffice now. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So we could have all these lines. So, you know, you could say things like education was very important in my family. I was the first one to graduate from college. You know, that type of information, any general information that would pertain to this. Okay, then we're going to go down here and we're going to put a couple more text boxes. And we're going to call this, go back up a little bit more. This is going to be link 1. And we're 26. Put in another text box.
So I missed it. How did you choose a link? Where's the symbol you click on for a link?
Right now, this is just an image. Okay, we don't have links yet.
Oh, okay.
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 Okay, if you just go back to this one here, remember, we have to create a JPEG image. That was step one, and that's where we're at. We're in step one. This next step is where we identify the clickable links. And let's see, another text box. Just for the heck of it, we'll put in a link 3. Okay, now that would be an example now of the image. This would be the JPEG image that we talked about back in this program. Now we have to save that as a JPEG. So to save it as a JPEG, we have to go and export, not save, but export. Okay, and this is where I'm going to save it up in pictures and another file, subfile called tutorial. And just make sure we can save that as a JPEG right down here. Okay, so here it says it's a JPEG, and we're going to call this demo slide. Demo page. Okay, I got a 0 instead of an O there, but that's okay. Okay, so this will be saved in this file structure right here, going back to that file structure that we talked about. So now, even though it's an export, it's going to be saved. Okay, so they want something interesting now. This is just text. And one of the concerns that we have is to keep our file sizes small. And the way you keep your file sizes small in the case of a JPEG is by compressing. And this slider right here will determine how much compression we got. If you go all the way up here, there's basically no compression. And if we go down here, we've got about a 2/3 compression. Okay, what else do we need here? They may have this size wrong. In the resolution, we can decrease the resolution also to decrease the file size. And we do want this to be color. Okay, so all right, now just for the heck of it, let's go back and make sure that we've got that file. Well, no, before we do that, let's do one other thing. Let's go to a shape and let's click on this, put a shape over this link. Okay, now that is transparent. And when you do it the first time, it's going to be covered over like that. But if you left click on the image, it'll come up transparent. Now, since I've done that, all of them in this exercise will come up as being transparent. Okay, so we want to insert there a hyperlink. And if we're going to go to the web, that hyperlink has to have the HTTP in front of it. Colon, let's say google.com. Yeah, okay. All right, so that takes care of that link. So let's go over here again and do another link. and we'll insert a hyperlink. And let's say that one is going to be a document within our program. We can search. Okay, here's this is a, what is this? This is a JPEG file. So let's go to that one. Apply. Okay. So now we want to save this as a HTML. Okay, and why do we want to save it as an HTML? You know, it started out as a JPEG, and now we want to end it up as an HTML. Well, in order for it to be played on the various browsers that people are going to have, it has to have an HTML suffix after it. They need to be HTML files. So we're going to save it as an HTML file and give it a name and a location. So now we're going to export it again. And it's going to go into a picture. It's the same tutorial that we talked about before. And let's see, let's call it Herb's slide. All right, now I did something wrong in the last time I entered this, and I did that purposely to show you. If I do it this way, I am not following the recommended format for saving files because I've got this space in there. And with some materials, for example, if you have a MP4 file, which is a video file, and you have a space in there, and you save it as a MP4 file, and it'll play fine on the Microsoft browser, it'll play fine on the Apple browser, but on the Chrome browser, all you'll get is the audio. So you need to go back here and get rid of that space and save. So that's something to remember. And again, you know, it's preferred to use all lowercase levels characters. So we're going to save this now. Where am I? We're going to save this as an HTML. And here's our HTML.
Can you use hyphens
Excuse me.
in the name of the files? Can you use hyphens instead of space?
I would not. I just use characters. What did I get? Right one here. Okay, we want HTML, not XTML. Okay, there we go, HTML. And that is going to be saved as Herb slide in as a HTML file in this folder, in this subfolder, in this folder. We're going to say save. And now it's going to ask for some additional stuff. I have done a lot of experimenting here, and I just say new design. Again, I don't want to create a title page. I don't want to create the notes. I want to use a standard HTML format. Next. Okay, here it's already said it's going to save it as a PNG file, but I want to save it as a JPEG file. And then it's low resolution. It's 640 by 480, which is what we talked about. That's the standard resolution. I don't care about those dots. Don't care about that. Create. Here, I just give this a dash so it recognizes there's something there and give it an OK. And it says the design already exists. Do you want to replace it? I'll say yes. Okay, target directory has something that, do I still want to use it? I might overwrite, but I don't have another one in there by name of Herb's slide. So I'm going to say yes. So now it should be out there. So if we go into our computer, and we go into pictures, and we go into tutorials. Okay, we should see it in here somewhere. Herb slides. Okay, it's been saved in the Microsoft.
This is a short tutorial on how to add links to a pre-established image of a web page using the 4 dots image mapping software. First thing we see here is the worker interface of the program, and we will go over here to the far left, bring down this menu, and create a new website or a new web page. We will browse for an image, and it's in this folder that I'm looking for the image that I want to use. It's called image 3, and we'll click OK. And there it is. This is the one that we're going to create links to. And the bar up here, toolbar up here, shows that we've got 3 different shapes that we can use to create the links. I'm going to use the most common one, which is the rectangle. We go down here, and I'm going to do this first one. Click there, left click there, bring us down, left click there, and it highlights that area. And now it's going to want to know where we want this to link to. And I'm going to take this first one outside to the internet. I'm going to go to Google. Now we have to do the HTTP colon in this program because it doesn't do it automatically, but then we can put in the rest of the program like Google. Okay, once we get that in, we say OK. And we should have a link. And we'll test to see if we do. And there it is. We've got a link to Google. And we're on the outside, and this is a fully functioning web page at this point. So I'm going to get out of this. Takes us back to the editing part of the program, and we'll go for a second one. Now we've already got the rectangle highlighted, so we'll go to a second one. Again, left click, drag, left click, and this one here will be internal. So I'm going to browse for an internal page to go to. I'm looking for one that says, here we got an education page. And we open that. And then we'll say OK. And we should have a second link. So again, let's test that. Okay, we've got the one there that should go to Google. This one should go to the education page. And there it is. So we can create as many links as we wish on a web page using this procedure. So now that we've got something working the way we want it to work, we need to save this. So we're going to go into Save Map As. And this is a folder that has a number of HTML sites on it. And I'm going to put a new link on here, and I'm going to call this one our new test. No spaces. And that is as an HTML, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to get out of this program and we'll go and check to the site where we've saved it to make sure that everything is going fine. It's this PC, it's on this PC, and it's in pictures. And it should be in tutorial. And I'm looking for a file that says our new test. It's right here. And there it comes up. And it says there's a link there, and it says there's a link there, no link here. So let's see if this one was going to take us to Google. There it is, Google. We're out on the internet. I'm going to come back. I guess I got to go back into the program, and we'll go to link 2, which should take us to that education page, and there it is. So we've got an internal link to an internal page, a file really, on our computer, and we also have a way to get out to the internet and explore what goes on, or see whatever we need out there on the internet. And that's a very, very easy way to turn an image of a web page into an operating dynamic web page which links to various places. Another application for the Filmora is to do video editing. So let's do some editing on the previous recordings that we've made. To do that, first we have to bring these assets, which would be the previous recordings, plus I'm going to bring in one still image, into our library system here. And it's in the documents. And we're going to go to Wondershare and Wondershare Filmora. And we're going to look at recorded. And this would be the one video that we want to do. We just drag it in. This is the other one that we do, and we want to just drag that in. Now we also want to bring in a still image, so we're going to go to pictures, and we're going to scroll down in here to look for the picture that we want. And it's this one right here. So I'm going to click on that, and there it is. So these are the 3 assets that we're going to use in producing this video. Just drag this down to the timeline, which is what this is called. And we're going to keep it this way. And then we'll go to the end, and we're going to bring this one in at the end. So to get that compressed, we're going to do this. It brings our timeline where we can bring this one in. And we'll have something there to work with. So let's play it and see where we're at. When you create an eMemoir, there's going to be a lot of people who, the sound is what I'm going to be using as a key here. And I'm going to stretch this back out a little bit. And then I'm going to go down here. And I'm going to increase the volume. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can see the waveforms for the sound that's being recorded. I'm going to do the same over here because this is that other clip. And then continue playing. Appear in some format within your production. In many cases, if it's a live person, it's going to be an interview, like an interview of yourself, which would be a selfie, or an interview of another person that you do, or maybe an interview that another person does of you. So whichever it is, there's going to be a lot of action with people. Now, one of the tools that can be used for that is one that you're already familiar with. Matter of fact, I know you're familiar with it because you're using it right now, and that is Zoom. And I'm going to bring up Zoom, And the first thing that you see when you have Zoom is a new meeting. So I click on a new meeting, and there I am. Now you can see I've got some headphones, and I've got a microphone in front of me, and I'm doing that to get improved audio, which is something that's been needed in all of the productions that we've been doing. And so let's make an example here of where, I am doing a self. Okay, at this point here, you remember now, or you remember that we had two let's so's, 2 times when I said let's so, and we don't want both of those in there. So let's back up a little bit here, and we can open this up some more. And we'll bring this back. I am doing a selfie, and in this particular case, I would be. Bring it back some more. I think we missed our spot. So let's okay, the let's are in there. So let's okay, now I want to get rid of that let's there. So based on that, I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to click the scissors. And that creates a split there. So I want to get rid of that center part, or that middle part where we got 2 let's. And I'm going to do this again. Let's go back, make where we want to do this. Let's make an example here of. Okay, I think we found it. It's right in here. Let's okay, I'm gonna go back to right there, and I'm gonna do another split. Okay, and now it's highlighted this portion right here, and all we do is hit the delete key on the keyboard, and it's gone. So now let's see how that plays. Let's make an example here of where, I am doing a selfie, and in this particular case, I would be interviewing myself. We can also go to see what we're sharing if we've got something to share here. And yes, we do. We've got the screen. Okay, we've got a dead spot here. And the end of the dead spot is right here. So I'm going to hit this split. And then we got the split. And then I'm going to go back here to see where. Okay, nothing good there. Let's hit a split here, and we'll hit the delete key, and we're back to that. Now let's see how that sounds. Here, and yes, we do. We've got the screen for the Filmora. We can go back, stop sharing on that, go back, and of course. We've been recording using the Filmora, and let's just stop and see what happens.
Okay, well then.
Are there tutorials for 4 dots?
Oh yeah,
So if we go to 4 dots, or we go to.
There's some on YouTube. But they basically show you the same thing that I just showed you. So if you went back to this part of this tutorial for today, you'll see the same thing. Do you feel that there needs to be more explanation about how you use the 4 dots?
For me, yes.
Okay, you want me to go through it again?
No, you've given us an idea of what we can do. I mean, you can create things in something like a slideshow and put links in there and link off to other files or link off to something on the internet.
Yeah, no,
I've got an idea of how you produce links now. That's the main thing.
it doesn't have to be a slideshow, okay? But it needs to be as a JPEG image. And most of the time in the past, created my JPEG images in Microsoft Paint. Okay, are you familiar with the Paint program that comes with your operating system?
Yes.
That's what I've been using. Now this is interesting. This could be a hand-drawn sheet. You know, you could have put the same lettering and everything on a hand-drawn sheet and then scanned it, which would bring up a JPEG image, and save that and put it in a proper place in the file system and bring it up into the 4-dot software and put your links in, and you'd have a web page. So if you're artistic and you'd like to do something different, there's an opportunity. I guess the point to make here is that if you look at a production, a video, a commercial production, whether it's a movie or a video or whatever, you'll see a scroll of all these different people who contributed to that and all the different talents or disciplines that they brought to bear to get that video made or that movie made. In the case of what we're talking about now, you are it. You're that whole list of people. So any of the creative efforts that are going to be used are going to be coming from you. And all you do is put a different hat on when you're doing different things within the construction of your website. And that's it. So you're going to be probably somewhat evaluated by your creativity. It doesn't have to be a lot, as we're going to show here in this next section. But, you know, nonetheless, there's an opportunity for you. So the thing that was discussed earlier is that when we get into doing our individual stories, they're about us. We're going to be in a lot of those. And I know some people say, gee, I don't want to shine the light on myself. And we've kind of been taught not to do that. But if you're going to have a production, which is a story about you and your life, you have to be the main character. You can bring other people in who can talk about you and so forth, but you're going to be the main character. And a lot of that is going to be done with you speaking into the camera, just as I'm doing now. Remember when we had the first session, Reed was talking about, well, you know, we're recording right now and this could become part of my story. And he said, yeah, that's possible. So.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, well, okay.
Do you expect, instead of creating a web page, and so I'm just trying to figure out what do you get by doing a web page versus, you know, something more local? Okay,
well, you can save these web pages that we're talking about in the tutorial here. Locally, you can save them on a thumb drive. You can save them on a DVD disc. You can save them on any kind of a hard drive. I think you were the one that said you had an external hard drive. Could be saved on there, and they could be played on there. Now, the websites that we're talking about are made up in packets, if you will. And at some point, you may want to, for example, if you're saving it on an M disk, which has the same capacity as a regular DVD, which is for almost 5 gigabytes, and you've got your site is going to be bigger, you know, you can create a second disk And because it's modular, because the websites are modular, they can be linked together on a larger storage device, or whether it be a M-disk or any kind of a storage like that. So and then can be played and used that way. So you might ask the question, well, why not just do it that way to begin with? Why not just put it on a DVD drive, or regular DVD drive, or on a thumb drive? Well, those things have limited storage life. And this gets back to your question about, will this stuff be around 100 years from now? And again, it depends on how you store it and how it's been put together so that it can be stitched together with other DVDs, M-disks at sometime in the future. So the normal, if you store your stuff, for example, on one of the websites outside your local, like YouTube, okay, how do those people maintain the integrity, archival property of what you've put out there? Well, the way they do it is they periodically copy it from one source to another source, a fresher source, because the fresher source is going to have a same type of shelf life that the original one had, but it's going to be a different period of time. So even getting back to the storing the information on a disk, you've got another thing to consider, and that's the physical preservation. So what's recommended is that you make multiple copies and send a copy to maybe 3 different relatives or 3 different kids or whatever, so that if one kid's house burns down and the disk is gone, you've got others to go to. So these are the kind of considerations you really need to take in turn of your question about, will this stuff be around 100 years from now?